Hey, what's up, everybody? Whoa, there we are. Okay.
Oh, now I'm unmuted.
Now we're unmuted. What's up? Oh, we got a raid. Game Dev Company
Hey,
raid.
everybody.
Ooh. All right, welcome.
I've been watching Bjorn and Mammoth this morning, so I'm a little off when it comes to not hearing European accents while we're doing this.
I could do an impression, but it might be. I don't know. What's up, Bjorn? Mammoth in the house too. Hey, what's up, you guys? Thank you for the raid, Game Dev Company. Cheers. I'm Indy. That guy over there is Jay. Yeah.
Where's my? There we go. Yeah, see, we're good to go.
And I'm drinking water with blueberries and lime in it.
I accidentally shut my chat window, so I was trying to get that back.
Hang it.
So I already said what I actually wanted to start talking about this morning. So I'll let you go. What's new and what's exciting in your world, Andy?
Exciting in my world. Well, I came across a thing. Here, I'll post it in the chat. Kickbooster.me. Bam. Wait, how come it won't paste? Paste. Here, I'll just type it out. Wait, it's not. There we go. Copy. Let's see. Who? I can't. It's not copying and pasting. Anyways, all right, I'll type it in here. Kickbooster.me. Is that going to work? .me. Yes. Not me. .you. That is it's like an affiliate link for people to help you do your crowdfunding, which is kind of strange. Here, let me see if I can pull up. I actually, I can't copy and paste that into the chat. Hey, Lycia, what's up? Welcome. How's it going? Lycia in the house, and thank you guys so much. That's awesome. So,
how's Austin? Is it hot and miserable down there today, Lacey?
Lycia, she was in the 12. You were in the 12 Days of Indie. Yes, 12 Days of Indie. Same with Mammoth.
Yeah, I want to do 12 Days of Indie next year. Is that like the Christmas thing, or is that the one you just did recently?
Yeah, that's the Christmas thing. Lolinia said he was talking to you about it. And I'm like, I'll talk to him. Yeah, we do on my channel, well, not to go on a complete tangent, but I'm going to. We used to do it on December. This time we're going to do it in November because there's so many other events that are happening in December. The 12 Days of Indie, and it's a 12-day long charity marathon for Toys for Tots. And this will be our 6th year. It'll be our 6th year. Oh, you're in Chicago and it's gorgeous. Hey, what's up, Aaron? It's hot. It's nice and cool in here. Nice and cool in here. So that's
Sorry.
good.
For some reason, I thought you were in Austin, Lucia. So my bad. I had to get up and turn the dog barker thing off because all of a sudden my dog was like underneath my legs, and I'm like, okay, what are you scared of? And then I'm like, oh my god, I'm in here talking loud, and the bark thing is on, so it's probably driving her nuts. So that's what it was.
The bark thing.
She has a tendency to bark at every living thing that moves down the road or up anywhere. So I have one of those things that when she barks, it like does a little sonic whatever. Mm-hmm. And she's super smart. So she catches on really, really quick. But sometimes I forget it's on. And so she reminds me very quickly that, hey, asshole, you've got the thing on and you're talking loud. I was like, oh, yeah. My bad.
Not good.
Now she's back, in her bed, going back to sleep.
He's like, that was fine. Okay, so Kickbooster.me is the playlist. Still getting playlists on that. Online tool that helps crowdfunding project creators build hype, increase awareness, and ultimately reach their funding goal. So I'm not sure that's a good idea. I mean, because I just got a thing saying, oh, you get basically from a game company, you get it. If you help us promote this, we'll give you $10 for something when people use your link. And I thought
it said 10%.
It said $10. Did it say 10%? I think it said 10. It said $10.
Oh, okay.
Per person, unless I'm just creating my percent signs and dollar signs crossed. Let me look at it really quick.
Yeah, it says 10% cash.
What?
But still, I don't.
10% cash back. I just, I understand what it's trying to do, but as doing a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding or anything like that, I've seen people make their perks way too so expensive. Oh, you get a t-shirt, you get this crap mailed to you, you get this and this, and so it's like 80% of their Kickstarter goes to sending people this physical stuff, and I am, earn 10% cash back for helping us spread the word is what it says.
Yeah, and that can be good, but that's also very dangerous because of what you just said. A lot of what kills Kickstarters. Now, the number one thing is the people that don't know how to project manage and do a budget correctly. But aside from that, is they end up spending too much money on perks. And so if you're, it sounds good in theory that you're giving a 10% bonus to everybody that signs in, but you've got to make sure you're factoring that in to what you're doing, or you're going to get in deep financial issues.
I agree, big time. I mean, that is switching cameras, you guys. Woo! Production value. I think I don't know. I just don't think it's that good of an idea. I understand it's trying to help, but I think affiliate kind of stuff like that really only works if you have like a big audience, right? Because otherwise it ends up you like, let's say I want to do it and I want to make money doing it. I spend so much energy trying to share it. It's not really worth it to me if I'm trying to do it for money, which that's basically the whole kind of point, is you're trying to do it for money. Right? And affiliate links, promoting that stuff just takes a lot of time. On my stream, I really don't do affiliate links anymore. Every once in a while I might try one if I am really passionate about something, but otherwise it's just like, and so many people call them sponsorships, and they're not. It's just an affiliate link, just like anybody can get from Amazon. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I mean, if it's passive like that, and you're doing, like Twitch lets you do, it's like if you're streaming a game and somebody buys the game through the link at the bottom of the screen, you get a percentage of it. That's one thing, because you're not having to put forth any effort for that. And it's not, at the end of the day, Amazon is not going to miss 5-10% of the cost of a digital item. It's not a big deal. But if you're a small to mid-size developer running something, that's a completely different ballgame. I mean, it's going to be, you can really sink me. People don't factor that in when they're sitting there and they're building their budgets and they're building their, their marketing spend and all this other stuff. A lot of times they either forget to put in things like, how much are the perks actually going to cost and shipping them and, all of that stuff, or they grossly underestimate it. And so, that's where you have to be careful whenever you're giving away 10% of, because you got to remember, all right, so say you're doing a Kickstarter and, I promote your $25 tier. So 30% of that, or 40 or whatever the Kickstarter fee is gone like immediately. And then you're taking another 10% out of it. And then you're taking out everything that you have to pre-purchase and give away for, for whatever that tier is. Was there a t-shirt or a tankard or whatever the hell you're giving away? And you get down and it's like, okay, wow, this $25 sub, and now I've netted $6. So you just got to be super, super careful about this stuff. I like our zoom in.
This right here, zip.
Yeah.
Zip. Production value just went up 10,000, over 9,000 right there. Yeah. Well, so when you get the stuff we've been talking about behind you, that's gonna cool.
Oh yeah. So we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm insanely jealous of Bjorn's game dev company sign behind him, and I'm like, I need that. We need to get something back here, and so that's what I'm working on. I doubt it's going to be nearly as nice as what his looks like though.
Does look nice. All right, so what's next with news before we get into our thing here?
So, all right, wait, hold on. Lost my cheat sheet. All right, so before we get into Steam, and I really want to have some feedback from everybody else on this. The Weather Factory, the folks that just did Cultist Simulator, had a wonderful post today on, I guess it was today, I saw it today, it might have been earlier, on what happened when they actually launched the game. And, you know, if you're an indie dev, this is a absolute must read, even if you have a publisher, because obviously Humble Bundle published them. But Alexis goes into a lot of good detail on, you know, what they prepared for versus what they got, and, you know, how to be ready for what coming in, you know, and this is where indie development is such a roll of the dice. I was going to say crapshoot, but I don't know if that's really an internationally known term or not. But, you know, they went and planned for, let's see what I can find it on here. They based their sales on what he had seen on, was it Sunless Sea or what, the Endless, whatever the last project he did was. But, you know, Sunless Sea. But what happened was exponentially larger than that in terms of sales. So, you know, he says, I thought we could sell about 10,000 copies, you know, and they've sold 35,000 copies in like a week. And he said, that's exactly the number of sold, that's exactly the number that Sunless Sea sold in the week after launch. And they've done it in like 3 days. So, you know, it's very difficult to sit down and, you know, accurately project what you're going to be able to do. And, you know, over at Game Dev Company, they run here's the next indie game launch. Let's try to guess how many users they have. That's a hard thing to do. And so for the last like year almost, I've been part of a group called Steam Profit, where it started out as very much of a like fantasy football type thing. There's no money involved. There's no gambling or anything like that. But, you know, we would look at the indie launches for the next week. And then we'd all make guesses on, okay, this is how many people we think we're going to see. And there was hard to come up with any kind of accurate estimation for it, because they would be, you know, all over the board. So, you know, you can very easily grossly underestimate or overestimate, you know, what you're going to be able to sell with some of these games. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, Sunless Sea had a publisher too. It wasn't like they were self-publishing that one, but I'd have to go back and look. But yes, so definitely check out that article. I mean, it's a really, really good insight from a very recent launch.
And that just goes to show you, you know, and another thing, just because you're a famous indie dev, Cliff Bleszinski, and you bust out Gears of War and it just blows it out of the park, does not mean that your next IP that you're going to make, even if it's gorgeous and awesome, whatever, is going to do good at all. At all. I mean, look what happened to Lawbreakers. You know what I mean? Also, like, your game could be amazing and it just go downhill. Let's look at what happened with, gosh, my mind just totally went. It was a battle royale game. Nobody plays it anymore. It's a game where you mash rocks together and you make weapons. The Culling. What? It was called The Culling. And that game was amazing, and it blew up at the beginning, but then it just went, and it just kind of like vanished, where nobody's on the servers at all. But yeah, just because you can't say, oh, look at this game that we made, we expect to do this much, because it could be better, it could be worse, it could be. It's just the numbers are all over the place. You don't know really what's going to succeed or not. And also when you're inside like that, when you're a dev, you're looking at your game and you're just like, you've seen that game so much. I don't know if this is good or bad, or if it sucks, or if anything at all. It's rough for sure.
I don't think there's a single game that I have worked on in my last 20 years that once it launched, I was like, I want to go play that game. At the time, even when you're just involved from the business angle of it, and typically you're involved like the last 6 months of the project, not like the first 2.5 years. Even after like 6 months of looking at it every single day, I'm like, oh God, I never want to see this game again. And, you know, we worked on some really good games, and that's just, I get burned out on them like way too way too quickly.
I know an exception to that. A friend of mine was doing QA on Skyrim, and he worked there for a couple years, and he said after that he still wanted to play the game. So,
well, I can't argue with that one.
That would be the exception, I guess. But yeah,
I have probably over 1,000 hours in Skyrim at this point. But I have so this is my latest game objective, with the rumor being that Fallout 76 is going to actually launch the end of June. I don't know how true that is, but given what Bethesda pulled with Fallout Shelter, I won't be surprised if it happened. But I have hundreds and hundreds of hours in Fallout 4, and I have never even finished the main storyline. So that's like, I updated everything last night and got all my mods upgraded, and so I'm back in it, and I'm like, damned and determined, by the time Fallout 76 comes out, I'm actually going to finish Fallout 4.
I've never finished a Fallout game or a Dark Souls game.
I've never played a Dark Souls game, but I'm looking forward to that coming out on Switch, because I think that's going to be good. All right, so and then I'm going to jump and do one more before we start talking about Steam. So last week we were talking about the company, and I don't think it was this company, but the company that said, showed the graph that said we can't give actual numbers, but our Nintendo Switch sales have just grossly destroyed everything else on every other platform. Do you remember what game that was, Andy?
Oh man, that was. Well, then why don't we scroll up a little bit here in our thing? That was last week that we talked about, right?
Yeah, it was last week. So while you're looking for it, the team from Bloodstained. Okay, yes, different game, but still relevant. Half of Bloodstained Curse of the Moon's week 1 sales were on Switch. They launched, and if you haven't seen Bloodstained, it's like a extreme homage back to Castlevania. I mean, if you look at it in some scenes, you would think it was Castlevania, but it's a much more, obviously, modern take on it. I don't know if they're going to get in trouble for this, but they have a very roundabout way of saying exactly what they sold. They said they sold over 100,000 units the first week, and 56% of them were on Nintendo's platform. 56% is a very specific number. They didn't say more than 50%. They said 56%. So you're looking at, 56,000 units. See my conversion. Let's see what it's selling for. And so we can do a really quick calculation on sales numbers and revenue that you see. Where is the Nintendo eStore?
Nintendo's cut. That's a good question. Bjorn is asking, do you know what Nintendo's cut is?
Officially, no. And even if I did officially know it, I wouldn't be officially allowed to say what it is, but it's 30%. Because that's just like the standard.
It's a percentage.
Everybody's 30%. We're gone from, back in the day when digital first started taking off on the casual side, Big Fish Games made shit tons of money because they would keep like 70% of your revenue. And then as Steam caught on the App Store and everything else, and all of a sudden this magic 30% number came out, that's what's become the norm. So, whether it's an iOS game, an Android game, Xbox, PS4, Switch, you can always very accurately assume it's 30%, unless it is something that is just ridiculously, unless they had to move those numbers because they were trying to get an exclusive with a company. It's generally 30%. So Bloodstained is a $10 game. Nintendo is going to take 30% of that. So they're making $7 a unit, and somebody that, and Bjorn, I'm with you. I can't even do simple math anymore without a calculator.
Mathematical.
So let's say 56,000 units times, what do we do, $7? So they netted almost 400 grand just off Switch. And so, I don't know what their exact budget is, but given a game of that style done by an indie team, that we're assuming is not like 50 to 100 to 200 people,
Is
You know,
this
they
off
made
of, is this Bloodstained Curse of the Moons? Is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about? Okay.
Yeah. You know,
There's
there's
a link to that, you guys.
high probability that they, you know, have already made their money back in week one. So, I mean, all told, you can safely assume, you know, they've done over 70,000 copies at that rate. No, they've done over, see, I don't know what numbers you get, 100,000 times 7, so 700,000 in revenue at least, because everybody's going to take 30%. Now, let's, wait, did they have a publisher or did they self-publish? No, they self-published. So you're not even getting a publisher take out of that. And, you know, the article, and this isn't confidential because it's right there in that article from Weather Factory, Humble took 30% of what they're doing, which is something, I mean, we're seeing a lot more of the people in the food chain just say, okay, yeah, 30% is the number. You know, so if you are looking at something like Cultist Simulator, Steam's going to take, what is that one selling for? 20 bucks? Yeah, 20 bucks. So Steam's taking 30% and then Humble's taking 30%. So you're getting roughly, you know, 40% of the revenue, but it's not exactly right because Steam is going to take, Steam and all the, you know, hardware platforms are going to take 30% of the gross, which is the actual amount the customer pays. And then the publisher is going to take 30% of the net, which is the 70% that's left over, you know, after that.
Cultist Simulator is a card game.
Yeah, it is. I didn't expect that.
You play by yourself?
Yeah, single player. I was expecting something like, you know, The Escapists or, you know, some top-down simulation looking thing when I first saw it. So I'm going to catch up real quick on everything.
The name is misleading. Misleading. Hey, what's up, Dev?
So game dev company, 30% is a lot. Not really. I mean, over the years, we've seen everything from, you know, and I've done deals that were funding for the multi-million, you know, level titles, funding for companies that needed 100 grand to get theirs done. You know, the 30% number is something that's kind of been just landed on as a given. You know, it used to be, you know, much lower, but at the same time, you know, the publisher would, you know, if we had a publisher that was going, all right, we're going to put $500,000, you know, 5 million, however much dollars into this. 10 years ago, the deal would be structured so that the developer wouldn't see a dime out of that, you know, past that original investment until the publisher had recouped like a multiple of that number. And then they would get like 15%, 20%. So, you know, the takeaway was you're never going to see a dime outside of the initial investment. Make sure you have a cushion built in there for that. Because, you know, it was the developers that come to us and go, we're not worried about the advance. We just need enough to cover it because we're going to make money on the back end. It's like, no, you're not. Let me be that old cynical guy for a second. You're not going to make money on the back end. You know, and then we saw that, you know, move because of retail and the rise of digital. Publishers could get away with, you know, these ridiculous terms back in the day because there was literally no way to sell your game, you know, aside from finding a publisher that had access to Walmart and Best Buy and Target and, you know, GameStop and everything, and then getting you on the shelf. Digital wasn't even an option. Once, you know, Steam came around and started to gain momentum and the Apple Store came around, those rates started to, you know, transition. You know, we would see, you know, in games where they had already made their money, they didn't need money up front, we would see like 50-50 deals come up. So the developers providing the game, the publishers providing the distribution, whatever comes in, less the fees to the retailers and the distribution networks will be split 50-50. And so, you know, over the years, we've done deals that had wide spanning, you know, ranges of what you do. Nowadays, you know, everyone is pretty settled into this 30% number. And it's always going to vary from deal to deal. And the more money that somebody puts in up front, if a publisher puts in a bunch of money to help you finance the end of your game, they're going to expect more. In the back end, that's just kind of common sense. But we've done games, we've done deals where we had a client last year rebranded a game and revamped the game, kind of did a version 2.0 of a game they already had that put a big license on it. But then they actually commanded the lion's share, i.e. even more than 70% of the revenue, because the publisher wanted to get into the mobile space, but literally didn't have a lot of experience, managing live ops and all that kind of good stuff. The developer did, and so they were able to get the lion's share. It's not necessarily a matter all of the time of, is this number fair? Is this number too much, too little? It's quickly becoming the norm when it comes to publishers. And there'll be some variance in there, but it's one of those things you just have to keep in mind. Do you want the extra boost that a publisher is going to be able to give to you? 9 times out of 10, as a indie developer with no games under your belt, or even 1 or 2 games under your belt that weren't major successes, that you're going to sell more than 30% more by having a publisher help you with the promotion and streamer outreach and all of these things that go into getting games out there than you would on your own. It's not always the case, but it's a pretty safe case to be. I mean, there was another article I read just a little while ago that was talking about, I may actually still be able to find it in where I was reading. It's an article called "How Can Indies Build Their Brand?" I'll post it over here. And so, they're talking to, one of the companies that they talk to is Subset. Not a lot of people are going to recognize that name, but if I say FTL, everyone's like, oh yeah, FTL. Everybody knows FTL, but even with the popularity and, the popularity, right? And the great sales and work that they did on FTL, a lot of people still don't know who Subset Games is. Those of us who are in the industry have a little better chance of knowing it, but people that are your basic consumer, they don't. And I've seen this level of arrogance come from a lot of publishers over the years, and they're like, well, customers and players buy our games because it's one with us. You know what? In the 90s, yeah, they did. Today, the only company that comes to mind that I'm like, I'm going to buy everything they put out is probably Blizzard, because I have frankly enjoyed nearly everything that they've put out. But, it's a very hard road, very uphill battle as a indie developer to build your internal brand versus building, your game brand. And so, yeah, I've gone on so many, tangents at this point. I don't even remember what we were actually talking about. But anyway, yes.
Tangents.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm just. This is how I get going on a. Yes. All right. So I
Creative
love
Assembly
too.
Mm.
Oh God, yes. Indy was playing, the latest Total War game, and I was like, screaming at my monitor because he wasn't playing it right.
Yeah. I just don't like RTS game.
Oh.
The devs of FTL. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't played Into the Breach. I played the crap out of FTL though. But I haven't played Into the Breach yet. So, all right. So do we have anything else, or do we want to dive into?
Oh, that's our news, and that's our news segment of the show.
Wait, we haven't got into Steam yet.
Okay, get into Steam. Let's do it.
All right. So,
the Valve's new content policy.
Yes.
Put up whatever you want. We're not going to censor anything.
So originally, like 2 weeks ago, a bunch of these visual novel stories, got emails from Steam that said you need to tone down the raunchiness of your game or you're going to get removed. And they very publicly went bullshit. This is basically less offensive than a lot of the things you have in your AAA games. Where are you getting off on this? And apparently they caused a big enough stir that Steam turned around day before yesterday, and said, okay, never mind, we're going to let everything on there. And it's just like...
Right after they took down the active shooter game.
Well, they're saying that active shooter would have been taken down anyway because it qualifies as trolling. Their new policy is, anything can go up as long as it is not illegal or just blatant trolling. And so I'm guessing like the asset flip simulator and active shooter and things like that are going to be what they qualify as trolling. But of course they didn't define that. They just said it's going to be, different. I mean, it's going to be taken away because it's trolling.
Really, they have South Park games on there. Have you ever seen the South Park games? You ever seen the things that happened in the South Park games? Oh my God! And it's like, okay, so they're going. We'll see how it turns out for real. I mean, I believe that platforms have the right to censor stuff because it's their platform.
Exactly.
They have the choice of if they want to do it or not. Maybe they're making that choice. We're just gonna. So maybe.
But they're not. They're not making that choice. That's the thing. All right, so the quote that just sent me over the end was. Let's see. Hold on a second.
Gutless attempt to dodge responsibility.
Valve shouldn't be the one deciding this. If you're a player, we shouldn't be choosing what content you can or can't buy. Yes, you should. It's your damn platform. It's I'm not saying that, actually this is my platform, to an extent, right? Maybe I can say whatever I want to. Active shooter games like that, I don't have a single bit of sympathy for in anything. That's just ridiculous. If you're making games about killing kids in school and pedophilia, then seriously, fuck you. But I don't have a
hey, that the one Call of Duty scene where you just walk into an airport and just murder a bunch of civilians. Yeah, I guess there were no kids there, but still.
There were no kids, and it's arguable. But the porn games, I don't give a shit. If you don't like them, don't play them. There's nothing inherently, illegal about them. Unless you're, again, pedophilia. Violence in games, I obviously don't have a problem with that. I mean, I was the one that got the publishing deal for Painkiller and, several other games over the years that have been ridiculously violent. I don't have a problem with that. And you can always put an age rating on these things, which honestly is one of those things that Valve doesn't require, ironically enough. If you go to retail, you have to get a PEGI license and, ESRB. But if you're on digital, you don't have to have all that. So
right.
In some ways, if Valve wants to pull this shit, then they need to have some way of saying, this game is appropriate for bleh. This
you mean a gaming rating system?
I know. It is completely unheard of.
The active school shooter game, I mean, of course, I'm against school shooting, but also I'm against killing people. I'm against killing people, and there's plenty of games where you just kill people, right? So
yes.
I mean, is the thing that puts it over the top, is it that it's killing people under 18 or killing kids? Or because there's plenty of games that are out there that are just, what's your point of the game? You kill stuff and you kill people.
You kill stuff, but there aren't a lot of games that actually let you kill kids. And more importantly,
that's the line.
There are games that are based in schools where the objective is to kill kids.
So that's the line. Is like, it's okay to have a game where the objective is just to go and murder people, but if you're murdering kids in school, that's not okay. That's the censorship line right there.
In my opinion, if it was my platform, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing.
If it was my platform too, that's where I would draw the line.
But that's my point to Valve. Valve is like, it's not up to us to decide what should be bought. Yes, it is. It's your store. You get to decide that. The reason that you don't see some games in Walmart is because they would have qualified for an AO rating by the ESRB, and Walmart flatly said, we're not going to sell games that get an AO rating. And so Grand Theft Auto, that's why the hot coffee scene was never in the actual, what was it? Was that Grand Theft Auto 3 or 4? One of them.
I don't know.
That's the reason that was pulled out, despite all the other despicable shit that you could do in that game, to scoot under Walmart's radar in terms of what was acceptable and what was not. My point isn't, if that's the game you want to make, if you want to make a game when you're going in there shooting kids, that is your God-given right. But the people that own the stores own the right to go, this is ridiculous. It's not even a good game. And it's, completely a clickbait type thing. We're not going to let you sell it. If you're going, the message to Valve is, you do have the ability to do this. You're not the end of the world. There are still other platforms that they can sell on if they want to. Just make a stand somewhere. The reality is Valve doesn't want to make a stand.
Or at least they sound like they don't want to make a stand, but it certainly sounds like they did because they took down the school shooter game.
Yeah.
So they're saying they don't want to make a stand, and yet they are.
Exactly. But, it is. I'm going to catch back up on chat here. And
oh, thank you, Bjorn. Have a good one. Thank you, man. Thank you for the raid and the host.
Yes. Get a good night's rest.
Valve can say anything is trolling. Totally.
It is. And they can. So they can completely, they're saying we're not going to dictate this stuff, but then we're going to leave this like opening. And my point is put a line in the sand. Don't just like say anything can go except what we don't think can go. That doesn't solve anything. That doesn't, give anyone any right to work on.
Give a solid line that is very clear.
Right now, the people that do the VR porn content, and I know Naughty America does it because at E3 2 years ago, they were like literally the only booth that had a line in, the big West Hall, I believe. It's like, Take-Two and everybody was there and there were people milling about, but then there was this little booth back in the back that had just this long line. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And I go look and it's Naughty America and they have VR porn. The companies like that right now need to be submitting the shit out of stuff on Steam because they're saying that, hey, we're good. You can sell it on there. And that's a huge audience they can sell their content to that may not know it exists. But don't sit back and say, we don't have the, it's not up to us to decide what can be sold. Yeah, it kind of is. But if you've worked with Valve in the past, and I have, you realize that Valve is a much smaller company than you may think it is. The reality is they have enough trouble controlling and managing everything that comes in on a daily basis anyway, without having one more thing to manage. And that's why, I think they did it. They sat down and had a meeting and, if you read the employee handbook that leaked a couple of years ago from Valve, you'll see they have a very, very flat management structure. And people are free to move from project to project, based on whatever
or begin
they want.
projects.
Yeah, or begin projects. So my bet is what happened is they're like, oh, no, you can't put this stuff on. Then they had a meeting and they went, who wants to moderate this? I'm like, nobody in the company was like, yeah, I will. So now they're like, oh, never mind. Just go ahead and put whatever you want on there.
That's kind of, they move their desk. Because they literally have desks that are on wheels that they can just like, I want to go work with this group. And they can literally push their desk over to another group at any time. They can be like, So what I always said was for Twitch specifically, because Twitch has like the thing where you can't do some things, there should be a streaming service that is anything goes pretty much, and it's called Twatch instead of Twitch. And then, so what Steam should do is have like another division, and they could call it Steamy or something like that. Twatch and Steamy, they go together like hand in hand. I mean, why not? Really, there's a market for it, right? Well, I guess there's a market for anything, but
there's a market for anything. It's just a matter of how you want to sell it and how you want to promote it.
Right.
All right, so let me catch up back here. So,
are they saying this out of greed or out of genuine sincerity?
I think it's genuine apathy. I don't think it's either one of those. I don't think it's out of greed. It's hard to say it's out of greed when you look at how much money Steam makes on a day. They're making stupid amounts of money.
Just on Steam cards alone.
Yeah, which I actually bought and traded the other day. Now that I realize that's what I have to do to level up my.
The thing about Steam cards that's great for them is that every time someone buys or sells them, they make money off of it. It could be the same Steam card sold 1,000 times, and they're going to make money off of it every single time. I would love to know
how much they actually make off of Steam cards. I sold a bunch of my duplicates and used that specific money to buy ones to fill up.
To make your badges?
Fill up badges the other day. I think it's out of apathy and no one wants to deal with it. You know, that's what I think it boils down to at the end of the day. I just think it's a complete and utter bullshit statement to sit back and go, well, it's not up for us to decide, when it absolutely is up to you to decide whether or not you want to do it.
Because it's your platform.
It's your platform. Exactly.
Like Twitter can decide what kind of content they will allow on there. Facebook can decide. So many people are like, you're blah, 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 freedom of speech. It's like, no, dude, you can go and say this, just not on our platform.
And that's what, you know, I always love the people. It's like, you know, Facebook and Twitter, you know, delete something or censor something. I'm like, you're infringing on my First Amendment right. Your First Amendment right in the U.S. has jack shit to do with Facebook and Twitter.
Exactly.
It means the government can't, you know, shut you up. It doesn't mean that a private company, even a publicly traded, still private company, can shut you up for doing something they don't agree with. So I was actually okay with school shooter, whether I was fine with it existing, that reasoning because of, okay, yeah, all right. And I get that, Oatmeal. You know, it's a very gray and nebulous line, but at the same time, you can still make you can still make judgment calls within that gray and nebulous line. And you're right. The, you know, current events aspect of it was, you know, what put it over the top. And you know, like,
soon. That's the thing. Yeah. Too soon.
And especially when it's such a hot topic now anyway, especially here in the States. And I know for our international viewers out there, a lot of countries and folks don't get the American fascination with guns. And God knows, I wish I could explain it to you, but you know, I'm a gun owner. I can't explain it to you, but my guns are locked up in a big ass safe over there, and they're not, you know, out and unloaded, ready for anyone to come around and wander through and get. People own stories have the right not to. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's up to these companies to, you know, to dictate what's on their own platform. Now, I don't think I stop it at, you know, they should be prosecuted for what's on their platform. And I have like mixed opinions of that anyway, but that's a whole nother argument. All right. So example, you removed visual novels, but what about which? Okay. Yeah. And that's exactly it. And I think that was the argument that those companies put forward, you know, was how can you, you know, get rid of our content when you have stuff on your store that's even worse, but you're not seeing because, you know, chances are all of this came about because somebody, be it a parent or a watchdog group or something, raised immortal hell about it. And, you know, a lot of Valve's reactions, knee-jerk or not, tend to be based on, you know, public sentiment at the time and whether or not they're in the press for something they don't want to be in the press about. But anyway, that's my rant. If there's, you know, if anyone's got any other opinions on this, I mean, feel free. This is something that, you know, I feel passionate about anyway, because I think it's just a cop out. But yeah, drop a note in chat and let's discuss. And so now, you know, we haven't even got to our God segment and we're already 45 minutes into the
we're going to have to change the title of everything. It got ruined. Thanks, Jay.
Sorry, not a problem. This week on Jay Goes Off on one of his rants is
The Tangent Man. That's going to be your new Twitch name. Okay, so yes, today we're actually talking about how to benefit from a conference that you are not going to. And there's tons of ways. What we got here, reinvest in internal tools for sure. Add to CRM, and that is what I'm doing. Now is the time where I get just like massive amounts of emails from tons of different companies, and you may go, God, another game and some more spam. Look at it, turn it around, turn it completely around. It is that's networking right there. So I have a Google form that I made for myself where I fill out like PR, game developers. So if someone reaches out directly to me, I say the company, the name, their Twitter, their email, and then, you know, what game, and then I put that in my CRM. Even if I'm not going to contact them now, it is very good to get that information somewhere where you have access to it and you can just look at it. And I use Google Forms, and it puts it in a Google spreadsheet. I can go and organize it easily. CRM tools are much, much better, but Google is free for me, and I do that for myself. So I can't, so
here's the one step in there that you're missing.
Okay.
It's good to capture all the detail and, you know, have that in a spreadsheet. But unless you make yourself a note to go back and either go through that spreadsheet on a certain day or contact that company on a certain day, you're gathering a lot of data, which is good, but it's just going to sit there unused, you know.
Right, because you're big on relationships, developing, even just emailing them. And I do this a lot. I will email back, oh, thank you so much, but I'm not really interested in this in particular. Maybe something in the future.
Yes.
Developing some kind of rapport with them. And I do that, but, you know, I get like 40 emails a day, and I can't do that to every single one, or my whole day would just be emailing people back. I hate people. What can I do? You can just email them a big old picture like this, and then thank you for your email, and then a big old middle finger.
I'll use my new facepalm emote.
Yeah, do it. I don't see it.
It's right
there. It is. There it is.
I didn't
go to a dog park.
So
that's funny.
You know, your conferences that you're not at, and there are so many conferences, you know, now that it's impossible to go to any of them. And so for my business, you know, and I'll just give you real world, you know, exactly what we're doing over here. So, you know, biz dev outreach is what we do. You know, that's, you know, 90% of our business, basically. And so E3 is going on, and E3 is a huge show. E3 is going on next week, but for all intents and purposes, it's already on because people are traveling, and everybody's mind is, you know, all week has been on getting ready for that show. You know, having that going on in LA, you don't necessarily have a lot of folks from Europe coming. So, because they have Gamescom, which in my opinion is a much better show. You know, E3 is still trying to like rebound from where it was 10 years ago, and it still hasn't, you know, unless they change my mind next week, it still hasn't really like found its footing yet. You know, is it a consumer show now? Is it a media show like it always was? You know, it's the one thing I can say is if you're an indie dev, it's not worth your time going. But, you know, we will focus most of our outreach and check-ins and networking and relationship building and all that sort of stuff in Europe next week, because, you know, a lot of the companies in Europe and even Southeast Asia aren't at you. You know, they're not going to go. You know, the same way that, you know, when Gamescom is going on, we're more likely to focus things on North American, you know, companies because they're not there, unless, you know, I'm there myself, and then it's a whole different ballgame. But, you know, it's a wonderful time to, you know, get caught up on backlogs of stuff that you haven't done, you know, be it, you know, paperwork, general CRM work, you know, what have you, that, you know, kind of gets bumped to the bottom of the to-do list during a day. You know, that is a good time to catch up on that, simply because you don't have a lot of stuff going on. It's not worth sending out a bunch of emails next week just to get a bunch of auto replies back. That doesn't do you any good. So, you know, sitting down and, you know, going through and adding to your CRM and making a follow-up action activity, you know, is a good thing to be working on. You know, when we say work on internal docs, you know, that's basically what it means. You know, if there's stuff that I need to write up in terms of company policy, which I frankly hate writing because I never remember to look at it and see what it was anyway, you know, that's a good time to catch up on stuff like that. You know, so we added CRM, working on internal docs, focus. I'm looking at my notes. Focus out regional companies like attending. Yep, that's it. So watch, and somebody just What? Yeah, all right, so like Div said, jump on Discord with friends and look at what people are watching. And so if you're not at E3 next week, watching the streams of the live news. Some shows, I want to say it was Reboot over in Germany, they actually live stream the lectures that are at their shows, which is awesome. That way, if you can't get over there or you can't afford it or whatever it is, you can still get some of that knowledge. By watching, the news feeds of what's going on at E3, you'll be able to see, from a practical standpoint, what publishers are out there and relevant, what types of games that they're doing. All of this is data that you can add to your system and say, okay, so I'm doing an RPG. Well, look, Bethesda's launching Fallout 76. So that's a company that I need to look at, or even some smaller ones along those lines. You can gain a lot of knowledge watching those news, but also following, the hashtag, because everybody and their brother is going to be tweeting about it. And so you may, actually, I'm not going to say may, you will find companies that you don't know about who are, in that stream, in that conversation, that you can then go and do a little bit of research on and find out, what they're doing and that sort of stuff. Interacting with that hashtag respectfully is what I'll say. There's nothing to say that just because you're on at E3, you can't hashtag stuff E3 to catch the eye of people who are at E3. You just have to do it, respectively, and respectfully. And, look in and add something to the conversation. But, it's a good way to, focus on something that's going to be trending. I mean, it absolutely is. There's no doubt about it. But it's a great time for, to basically just sit back and relax for a second as the biz dev person and catch up and be ready to go when things hit. And so whether you're there or not, it's not something that you want to start following up on. Don't sit down and set a bunch of activities to alarm on Monday of, the Monday after E3 to email people, because they're not going to be in any sort of mindset to actually be thinking about stuff other than recovering from the trip and following up on the stuff that they saw at E3. Thursday, the week after, Thursday and Friday is a good time to start going to them and saying, hey, look, didn't get to catch up with you at the show, or, hey, I wasn't at the show, here's what we're doing, and do some introductions that way. You should always be churning and doing something to grow your business. I had a conversation with a friend of mine today about their company. And I worked with this guy years ago. He knows how I work. You can't ever take your foot off the pedal when you're on the business end of it. And that doesn't matter if you're a publisher, you're a comic book company, you're a developer, whatever, even more so as an indie developer, because everything is, reliant on you keeping a steady stream of business coming in. And so you've always got to have your foot on the pedal, but whether or not you're doing outreach or you're doing research is a completely different thing. I mean, we've got, what's the command for all the playlists, Andy? And some of these are popping up from MooBot, but we've got a library that we're building on YouTube of conference lectures from various conferences, around the world. We'll sit there and I'll watch them, or if I know who people are and I've seen it, we'll add them to it, so it's not like a complete blank random list. I mean, this is a curated list, but you can use that little bit of downtime while you're not talking to new companies, to catch up on, other lectures and things like that. You're not necessarily going to be doing the outreach, but you can use this time to do a lot of the things that, help grow and help move your business forward, even though you're not necessarily there at the show. And Discord, and this will be the first time I've played with a conference via Discord. But Discord is going to be interesting, like Div said. And then Twitch, I just saw a thing on the Twitch blog that you can co-stream only the official Twitch. Of course, I'm not letting us co-stream anything, but you can co-stream the official E3.
And then comment on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be doing, as long as I remember, I'll be doing that, next week here. So, you can bounce on and, get my extremely cynical thoughts on a lot of these companies that are coming through. But, use the time productively. Realize what you're not going to be able to do, concentrate on something else. But don't just like sit back and go, hey, everybody's at E3. I'm going to go on vacation this week, because that's not really going to help you at all.
At all. Yes, and we have a new Discord server. So let's get in there. You guys can have instant access to us, and we can hang out. We're planning some fun stuff for the Discord. Jay's a Discord virgin, sort of. So
I've been on Discord.
You've been okay. Jay's a Discord server virgin.
I've never had, a reason to have it. And it's like, Andy's been pushing me for this for weeks, and I'm like, I look at things like, like Heine's page and or his server and Game Face and some of these other ones, and I'm like, what are we realistically adding to the equation here? There's already really great servers out there for you to be on. And then I finally capitulated when, okay, now we have a server. Are you happy, Andy? We have a server.
Yeah, so come on there, and if you see something or you're like, hey, this would be a great thing to have for the server, please drop us suggestions in there. We're both in there. Jay is Indie Game Business.
And there's even a suggestion. I put a suggestion feed. Yeah, there's a complaint, suggestions, and feedback channel.
Well, you're going to get all kinds of complaints.
But I probably got muted.
You got it muted?
That's like I probably do. Do you remember the old cartoon with John Lovitz called The Critic?
Oh, yeah.
There was a scene I always think about whenever I see like feedback and complaint boxes where he was driving a big box truck, and on the back it had the sticker that was like, to report unsafe driving, call this number. And of course he's like all over the road. And
1-800 each hit. It was at that one.
Well, no, it called his cell phone up in the front of the truck. So he's like, is the driver swerving? And then he immediately starts swerving. And the guy's like, yes. And he's like, is he braking? And he's like hitting the brake. The guy's like, yeah. And he like checks an ice cream cone or something, chucks out the window. Did he just throw ice cream at you? Like, yeah. That's kind of what I think about when I see,
It was terrible. Aaron. I never watched that. So, I mean, I saw a little bit of it.
The only thing I remember about it was that, like, one scene. That was it.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I thought you were being a hipster about that show, but...
No, it's just always stuck with me when I'm like, oh, my God, that's just absolutely hilarious.
Oh, no, the cartoon was great. That was a quote from the cartoon.
Was that his thing? Everything was terrible?
It was terrible. His voice.
God, that almost sounded like him. Good job there, Andy.
Yeah. You've already drank too much beer. If you think it sounds like John Lovitz. I don't know.
Hey, look, when you have a kegerator in your office, it's
But see, that's how to work, is to have a kegerator in your office right there.
A genuine kegerator built from a genuine refrigerator.
So you don't have to go upstairs, huh? You just walk on over.
Now the downside of it is when I am upstairs, I have to come downstairs to get a beer.
You don't have one upstairs too?
No.
Oh.
That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. You could just like run and like 2 lines off of it, one that goes upstairs.
Well, there are 2 lines. I actually have 2 kegs in it. It does have 2 lines.
No, I meant that had 2 lines going out. You should just have a mount a tap at your desk. Boop, and then
there'll be a hell of a lot of tubing to get over here.
Like a tap at your desk, and then a little refrigerator, so that way you could frost all your glasses, and you can just reach down, pull it out, and zzz.
Like they do with the.
I don't need this mouse. Let's put this here.
The breweries that have like the cellar keg that's pulled up from the bottom of the brewery. Yes, absolutely.
That's funny. You could just run a tap to each floor. Totally.
I could, honestly. But no, again. I have growler bottles, so, that you always get from the craft breweries anyway. And so if we have folks over or it's something that I'm like, I'm going to need more than a pint tonight, I will fill up a little growler and then, take it upstairs. And
that happens a lot, doesn't it?
Actually, not as much as you think, because I'm usually like, I'll just walk downstairs and get one.
When I was in high school, one of my girlfriend's dads, he had a keg in his refrigerator. That was where the parties were.
Yep. That's what we did. I mean, we had the original one was from a guy that worked with my wife, and he was an engineer, and we were moving, and he was getting rid of his, and it's a straight up refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, full size refrigerator, but it had a hole cut in the side where the tap, went. And you just basically took out all the shelves in the refrigerator and put in, the CO2 canister in the keg. And so we had that for a while, and it lasted about 2 years. and it died. And I'm like, now I'm accustomed to having beer on, tap. And so I went down to the hardware store and bought the second cheapest refrigerator that they had. And the guy looks at me and he goes, so would you like the warranty? And I looked at him just dead serious. And I was like, is that warranty still going to be good after I drill 2 holes in the front door? And he was like, no. And I'm like, then I guess I don't need a warranty.
That's funny. So do you have like a certain beer that you always put in, or do you switch it up?
I'll switch it up. And the reason we have, and because now when we made this one, it wasn't like a hand-me-down, I've actually got 2 different kegs in there. So I typically have something that I want for the season, and I drink like darker beers in the winter and lighter beers in the summer, and then something that my, wife is going to, like. So right now there's a very light, it's lighter than a summer ale. It's more, it's almost like a Hefeweizen. And then, my usual, like an amber lager in there right now. And sometimes, we'll have, one of the locally, it's always the local breweries because, it's a shame not to take advantage of that. But sometimes we'll have like a cider in there, because the brewery down the mountain, they brew like 6 or 7 different kinds of cider. So,
I like cider.
Some of it is like, and you read the bottle, they have ones like rhubarb and hibiscus. And I'm like, that sounds disgusting. And then you drink it, and you're like, oh my God, that's really good. But yeah, I'll on my side, I'll fluctuate between like an amber and, in the winter, more of a stout.
To have a nitro line. So in your fridge, you have 2 kegs.
Mm-hmm.
And then kegs, it comes out 1 line?
2 canisters. 2 lines.
Oh, so you have, okay. So it's like,
if I could if the camera would show that far, I could actually show it to you. But yeah, it's a straight up regular refrigerator, but it's got, if you look at the door, and it's got 2 pull handles taps on it, and that's coming from 2 separate kegs, each with its own CO2 canister in there.
Well, we went on a tangent, didn't we?
Yeah, no, really.
Twitch.tv/beer.
Welcome to the stream with Jay and Indy ranting about the industry and drinking beer.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much it.
And have to start drinking whiskey then by that time.
I've just never.
I like hard alcohol.
In college.
I like hard alcohol better than beer.
I can't drink it all day, so.
I couldn't drink beer all day.
So,
one beer. Indie beer business.
So, Red Tiger, I used to brew beer. I tried it twice. The first one, I melted the thermometer in the batch, so we had a nice,
mercury taste
of mercury beer. And the second one, and this was like, threw that out immediately. I don't know how I threw it out. I probably just completely destroyed some land in the area, but it wasn't a lot of mercury. So anyway,
it wasn't a lot. It was just a thermometer full. Okay.
And so I made a second batch, but I forgot to actually get the carbonation started, so it didn't carbonate correctly.
It was flat?
And it was flat and disgusting. And at that point, that was like over the course of a week and a half, and I was just like, complete fuck it. I was like, I'll buy my beer from now on. So I've never like tried to do homebrew ever again.
That was it.
This is too much work when I could just like walk down the road
and buy infinite numbers of beer.
Exactly. We have.
That's hilarious.
There's 3 really good craft breweries like right here in town. It is.
We have so many craft breweries here. I'm guessing. Well, we have a lot of vineyards too. So I could go like a mile in any direction from my house, and probably there's 10, maybe 15 vineyards, plus cannabis farms, and then just anywhere around the area, we have tons and tons and tons of craft breweries.
Are you in Oregon or Washington?
Oregon, Southern Oregon, very very bottom of Oregon. My favorite beer that I've had that was craft beer was called Dark Side of the Moon Porter, and it was so good. It wasn't very bitter. I don't like bitter beer. Bitter beer tastes like bile to me.
Anything with an IBU of 30, 35 and higher, I don't want to touch. It all at that point it all tastes like grapefruit juice to me.
Tastes like bile.
God, I can't stand it.
Like when you're
like, oh man,
when you're throwing up and you're dry heaving after you threw up a whole bunch, and that's what it tastes like. That's what most beer tastes like to me.
But my favorite is Cold Mountain from Highland Brewery, which is down in Asheville, which is like 2 hours south of here. And it only comes out in November, and they run a limited batch. And the recipe, the combination of spices that go in it change slightly every year. So it's never like the same exact taste, but it is always so good. It is always. I'm like waiting in line when that stuff comes out, and I can pre-order a keg. That's basically what I do when that one comes out, or when it's time to come out.
That's funny. All right. Do we got any other questions or any other comments or concerns or
any questions about the game industry or craft beer? Either one, really.
All this beer talk, you're going straight home. I don't like beer. I'm not a big beer fan. You actually have a business question. Okay, Aaron, let's hear it, dude. Not related to any talk about here. Okay, Aaron, Red Tiger Pro. They were just, I don't know what event you guys were just at. You were just at, and he had Ashley Christ at their booth.
Oh, cool. I've started watching her stuff. She's very chipper.
An actual business, because she's super chipper. DreamHack, that was it. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one down in Austin. I don't know what it is. I know it, but I don't know it. I've never been to it.
A beer crafting simulator? Yes.
Yes, it would. And I have seen several of them. Somebody pitched me one at Gamescom last year, and I've yet to see it come out. But yes, with the popular stuff, keep going. Aaron, I will answer the question when it gets there. But see, now I want attention again. Given the popularity of tycoon games that are coming back right now, on mobile or PC, yes, absolutely, a craft beer tycoon game will do well, if it's, done correctly.
Meth Lab Simulator.
So one of the companies I was at, we actually made a wine simulator about 10 years ago, a wine tycoon type game. So what's your question, Red Tiger? Or are you still typing and there's going to be like a paragraph coming out of this?
Someone at DreamHack, and he's looking to get some of your dev contacts. Normally I try to be open and helpful, but I'm not so sure about this dude.
So what are you not sure about? All right, so one, you have to be careful when you actually give out email addresses because of all kinds of privacy issue type things. But so what are you concerned about?
Breaking Bad the game to keep people from crying about it. I mean, there's places online that people can go to get dev contacts.
And no, I mean, part of the reason that we've done for as long as we do is because we know all these people. We have contact information at, like 3,500 developers and 500 and some publishers. Contacts are powerful. Contacts aren't hard to get.
It just takes time.
That matter.
Yeah, it takes time and the relationships, for sure.
So, I mean, do they want the dev contacts so
you should not, if you should avoid them or try to get something for it? Well, if you don't want to do something, don't do it.
All right, so that's number one. But at the same time, you can't be perceived by the developers as someone who's just out and out, selling their contact info. One of the things, so depending on what they want, if you've got a lot of developers that say make first-person shooter games and they want to reach out to a lot of them, one thing that you can do is generate a list of companies and then go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn's public, and post the people and the a link to their LinkedIn page. That's not going to get you in any trouble. What's going to get you, even if it's not legal trouble, but what's going to get you in trouble is if you just start handing out CSV files of company name, email address, title type thing. And it's just because it's in bad form. If someone, and we have companies that come to us and ask us the very same thing. A developer will come and say,
We just have your list.
Developers. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is like ad revenue companies and service providers for mobile games. They'll say, hey, we just want to have access to your database. And I'm like, no, because then I'm going to get pissed off emails from people saying, why are you just like giving out our information? You know, so what we will do is sit down and say, okay, exactly what do you want? And we'll generate a report, and then we charge you for that report. But that report has, you know, the company, I mean, and it is sorted and it is what they want. It's not just like a dump of our database. You know, it is, you know, company, you know, what they do, the person that they should speak to, and, you know, a link to their LinkedIn page. And quite frankly, given the tools that are on the internet for finding email addresses, if you can't find or guess somebody's email address, you've got a bigger issue when it comes to, you know, doing biz dev. So, I mean, yes, just be straight up and say, look, I can't give you email addresses. That's, you know, improper, if not, you know, illegal. You know, DVC's right. It's just genuinely impolite, you know, and now to a certain extent with the GDPR, GDPD, whatever that thing is in Europe, it in some cases is flat out illegal. But, you know, you can say we can put together a report for you, or, you know, I can recommend somebody. I wouldn't, anyone you do put them in contact with, to do it properly, you need to do an introduction and say, you know, and this is the same thing you do at a show, like in person. It's like, hey, you know, Andy, you know, I want to introduce you to Aaron. Aaron is a developer and they've got a new game coming out. Andy is a, you know, a streamer who does a lot of, you know, live streams of indie games. And I think the two of you should talk. And that's a very safe way of going in to, you know, put them in touch with one another. You know, as long as you explain why you think it's a good idea that they talk to each other, you're okay. You know, unless, you know, there are some people that are always going to be like, oh, I don't know why you sent that person to me. You know, as long as you clarify it and you say, you know, and you feel it's genuinely a good thing for them to talk, you do it. I'm not going to sit here and recommend you say, okay, hey, here's a printout of our, you know, our database with their email addresses and all that kind of good stuff, because that's, you know, if you don't get in trouble for it right now, it'll eventually come around and bite you in the ass.
And you worked hard to get that list and those contacts and make those relationships. That is worth something. You know, even if it's not a monetarily, it's worth something. It's worth what you're doing. It's worth your future. It's worth your business relationships. For sure. So I would tell the dude no. No. If it's something that I believe in and you want me to do outreach for you, I mean, I do that kind of stuff. I will do outreach for people. If it's something that, if someone comes at me and says, you know, something that I think is terrible, I'm going to say no. But if it's something that I think it might be awesome, I mean, I do a lot of influencer marketing, things like that, with lists that I am continually growing and have grown. But that is a different thing. Influencer reach out, because I'm reaching out to people through their business. You know, this email is specifically for reaching out for business. And well, I mean, but I'm not going to hand my list over to people, but I will do it for them, because I'm the one that acquired that list. I've made those relationships. And if I just give someone my list, then all of my work is just, oh, here you're giving it to somebody else.
Oh my God, there really isn't a Breaking Bad video game, but there's one like in the works, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Wow. Interesting. Anyway, sorry, I was just reading, but yeah. But I mean, you've got it, it's worth something, and these are things what, you know, these things are, you know, they're integral to your, you know, company. If you're thinking of your stream as a company, which you should be, you know, you've got to protect that, and you've got to treat it like that. You can't just, you know, if you start going out and giving away everything for free, you know, that's where, you know, you're going to lose business, or you're going to, it's not going to work out for you in the long run.
Roger that.
Coffee brewing simulator, yes, I think it would.
Because there's so many different ways to brew coffee.
And it's such a popular whatever. I mean, it's just a part of culture now.
Like coffee shop simulator. I want a double macchia latte with foam on the top and and then you have to, like, you gamify how to put the little designs on the top in the foam. Gamify.
Right. Hold on. I think I may have found it.
All throughout the stream, you keep getting lower and lower and lower and lower.
But, well, told you. You can't.
You can
Like, I need you to move your camera. I was like, I move around too much.
Next thing you're like down here. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to see if this is. I can't. I'm trying to find. I know that somewhere there is there's a new PC Wine Tycoon game. I want to find the one that we did like way back in the day. Because it's, it had like a little mini game when you were matching the, mixing the wine and all this other, and it had different wines from different areas. And it was really a good game, but I mean, yeah, it was 10 years ago. I don't see it. It may be like too old to actually be in there anymore. Oh, wait. No, it's not. Hold on. Now here's a video on YouTube of somebody pirating it. Okay, that's helpful.
Bum, bum, bum.
Actually, not a video of the game itself at all. Anyway, yes, those types of games have come back very strong lately. The tycoon genre. And God knows, back in the day, we did tycoon games for everything. I mean, it was like a SeaWorld simulator tycoon game. Everything.
Roller coaster simulator. Yeah.
There is a PC builder tycoon. Yep. It just came out or it might not have just come out, but it was in the news recently.
Yeah, it's been out. I saw someone doing it.
The guy.
There's also motorcycle building simulator.
Well, and a lot of them come from the same company. They're in Eastern Europe. Oh, hold on. Give me a second. I can find it. This guy's name. City Play City. Damn it. Why is it when I want to find something, I absolutely cannot find it no matter what I do? But there is a PC building simulator. Here it is. Oh, it's actually not from that company that I thought it was from. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
So, I mean, is it another streamer?
Whoa, thank you so much for the follow. If you guys are not following, please click the follow button.
I'm like Googling and I didn't even see our zombie pop up. Our highly original, exclusive zombie wandering across the screen that anyone that hasn't changed their default settings has. There's a ton of car mechanic. I know that's one. Car mechanic simulator, yes.
Motorcycle mechanic.
Playway, that's the company I'm thinking of. So yeah, here's this company pretty much makes any kind of simulator, especially you European, German that love all kinds of simulators. Germans love simulators. That's just a given. Let's see.
Hey, thank you for the follow, man. Thank you. We appreciate it. We are here every week on Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday.
Plus, randomly, occasionally, when I pop up and start
streaming. And you're going to be streaming some stuff from E3, right?
Yeah, I'm going to co-stream the stuff, coming from E3, because that's probably important to,
Importante, and to give feedback and talk about it and all that good stuff. That'll be awesome. Yes,
exactly. And you and I need to get on Raft again, because that was funny. That was fun as hell yesterday.
Yeah, it was. How far did you get when you played by yourself?
Thanks to Lily that stopped by and gave us the tip on the net. I had a nice little raft going with collection nets all on the front, so I would basically just like street sweeper up.
Oh, they're collection nets. Nice.
Yeah.
You don't like cast them out and then do it. You just set them there.
You just put them. You attach them to the end of your raft, and it grabs stuff as it comes across. Are you Gandalf?
Are you Gandalf? Thou shall not pass.
If you are you Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White?
Gandalf the badass.
It's like the old Dragonlance. I never want to be the white robes because they're always like way too goody. You know, give me a good red robe or black robe any day.
My RP character wears magenta. Magenta. He wears magenta. Everyone says that's pink, and I'm like, it is not pink. Magenta.
You've got a granddaughter. You've seen Wreck-It Ralph. Mm-hmm. It's salmon. It's obviously salmon.
Salmon. Yeah, that's funny. All right. Do we want to talk about anything else?
Anybody else got questions?
Octarine.
Or any other randomness that we want to discuss today while we're all here. And, you know, don't forget, you can find us on Discord, too.
Yeah, Discord. Here we go. Here's the link. Also, we are uploading stuff on the new YouTube channel, and it's right there. So you can go and follow it and check out the edited streams. I have no idea how in the hell I'm going to edit this one this time. Are we just going to cut out the beer stuff? Or are we going to...
No, we can't cut it out. That's an integral part of, you know, what's going on. Sorry, man.
I know. I'll just upload it. I'll have to change the title and put it and beer.
And beer.
And beer. How should you approach a company that you want to use a brand from them? An IP?
Oh, we can do a whole show on this.
Next week. There's our show for next week right there. How to approach a brand to get their IP.
All right. Actually, we may want to... All right, so I'll answer that question real quick in the short form. But I actually just talked to somebody yesterday who I'm going to ping once she gets back from GDC and see if she wants to come on the show, and we'll actually do a show about, you know, getting an IP, getting a license from the licensor point of view. She's with one of the big TV networks. So
what TV network?
I can't say.
Okay.
We'll say when, you know, she agrees to come on the show. All right, so first off, you know, run through the list. Same way you do a publisher. You go, you know, what is my game? What is the audience that I'm going for? And then you want to find a license, be it a television, movie, you know, home goods, you know, if you want to do a spam, you know, game or whatever you want to do. But you need to find the IP that fits with your demographic. And it goes beyond just, yes, if you're 20, you buy Bud Light, and so therefore it's a good fit. You know, you've got to look at the platforms that your game's going to be on and the genre of game that your demographic is going to most likely play. So then you identify your short list of IP holders. You never, ever, you know, want to get like tunnel vision on one particular company or IP, because you never know how it's going to work out. You know, when you're dealing with licenses, there's a ton of different variables. You know, we've had companies come to us and go, what is a roadmap for how do we get a license? And I'm like, I can write you a general roadmap, but the reality of it is being able to, you know, be nimble and be able to move around based on, you know, what you are seeing in the market, the feedback that you're getting, that sort of stuff. Once you've got your short list of, you know, companies to go to, you need to find the licensing people at that company. The easiest way to do it, it's not free, but there is a organization called Lima, and Lima runs the show that just happened basically in Vegas, or it's coming up in Vegas. I don't know. It's around this time of year. I know that we go, and it's, you know, super, super hot in Vegas when we go, and that's who, you know, I know it's in the summer. I can't remember when it is. I go every now and then. But licensing.org, the email, the website that I just dropped in there, if you join licensing, you know, that, and it's, I forget how much it is. We're members here at the company. So I have, you know, access to this gigantic database. If you tell me that you want to, you know, talk to the Care Bear people, you know, I can just plug in Care Bears and it shoots up, you know, the companies that handle that sort of stuff. And then you simply reach out to them and say, hey, look, this is our game. We're interested in, using your license for that game. This is what we do. This is why it's going to be successful. Are you interested? And start right there. And, from that, then you start going down the path that has many different side routes. Do they want money up front? Are they going to support you in the back end? There are, the driving reason that most companies go after an IP is because it's going to lower their marketing or user acquisition cost. And, the good partners that you want are the ones that are going to support you when the game launches by telling their fans and the people that follow them, what you're doing, and they advertise the game to them, because at that point you're being marketed to a direct fan base. These are qualified customers. They're interested in Care Bears or Hershey bars or beer or whatever it is that you're focusing on. From there, it's a matter of negotiating. Most companies today aren't expecting hundreds of thousands of dollars up front. And so there's a lot of misinformation, and a lot of indie teams expect, and they don't even look at IP because they're like, they're going to want a bunch of money. It's not for us. I mean, I know a friend of mine is the head of licensing at one of the movie studios, and he comes from the game industry, and that was one of the first things that he had to get through people's heads when he started there 5 or 6 years ago was, okay, the days of somebody coming in and giving us $1 million up front for the next whatever random kids movie we've got coming out with are over, because with rare exception, that's simply not going to happen. The good companies are the ones that are going to say, we understand, you don't have a lot of money, sometimes they'll want money up front, which is a guaranteed advance. Sometimes they want a guaranteed, I'll call it a guaranteed minimum, which basically says, when you do your P&L, which you should be doing, so you can justify how much you're going to invest in an IP, a year out, they're going to say, look, we want to have $100,000 from you by 12 months after launch. So what you're doing is basically guaranteeing them sales. The good news is it lets you get to a higher tier of IP. The bad news is if you don't have the sales, you still owe them that money 12 months after launch. One of the easy ways to sit down and say, is this a good company in terms of marketing reach, is do what we call social media footprint. And it is literally, you add up the number of followers they have on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email list, whatever, to get at least picture of the number of people they can promote your game to. You want to make sure that they've got, the ability and the interest, and they are contractually going to promote your game once it launches, because it does you no good. And you'll get these people, when you talk to them, they're like, oh, our brand speaks for itself. Like, yeah, okay, maybe, but no, that doesn't, justify it to you as the developer or the publisher. You need to make sure that they're going to go out and use their social media team to promote your game. Quite frankly, this is usually something that's very easy to get, because the people that you're negotiating with don't do that work. And they're like, okay, whatever. We have 6 interns that do, manage our Facebook page or whatever it is. They're like, oh, they'll do that. That's easy. So it's an easy give for them, but it's something that's going to help you, a lot. And so then you find the one that makes the most sense for you. The one that's easiest to work with, the one that's not going to stare over your shoulder the entire time you're developing your game. If you've got somebody at that company who knows games and it's easier to speak that language, that's going to be beneficial. But, in many ways, the short version of this is you approach it in much the same way you approach a publisher. Find the ones that are the best fit, reach out to them, tell them why it's a good idea to partner with you, and then start, triaging your options as it comes in. Let's see here. Another question. One of the devs I'm working with is making a music game that's paying like $4K in advances for each song license. Song licenses are, this gets into the second half of the lecture. When you're going after something like a movie or television, you have to understand what rights you're actually going to have access to. And quite, possibly you can get rights to the movie, but you don't get rights to the music or the actors. So a really good place to see, this in action is the social casino games, because that's like what differentiates all of them now. I mean, a slot machine is a slot machine for the most part. So, Zynga and all these companies have gone out and just aggressively carpet bombed licensing so, they can get movies or television or brands or whatever. That's where the spam idea came from, because there is literally a spam slot machine. But you'll see, it's like you go look at anything that's licensed, the Top Gun, the movie, it does not have Tom Cruise's face in it, and you're not going to hear Danger Zone in it, because you would end up paying one fee for the license from Paramount, another much higher fee to Tom Cruise himself for his likeness to be in the game, and another fee to Kenny Loggins and for Danger Zone. So a lot of times when you're dealing with TV and movie licenses, those rights don't convey. And it's honestly, in many cases, it's fine. It's not, and you can see how a lot of the social casinos, do this. They basically use icons and things. So, you go to Top Gun, it'll be like the Top Gun logo will be one. There'll be an F-14, and then there'll be some generic crap. It's using iconography and images that, show the movie, but without showing a picture of, Anthony Edwards or Tom Cruise or Meg Ryan, in the game. So, there's a lot of variation in there. You got to know what you're getting into from that way. Does 4K and advanced sound high? It depends on the song, the band or the person that comes with it, and what level of song that you're getting. If you're just getting the song, if you're getting master tracks, whatever, there's a lot of variation in there. So it depends on what, if another thing, are they paying 4K as a flat fee, so they never owe anything else, or is it 4K plus, a percentage?
Is it a song anybody's ever heard of, or is it just some random music?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band and all these things, they were paying a lot of money for a lot of this stuff because they had to have master track access to those songs in order to create the, individual instrument gameplay, basically. So, unfortunately, when you're going into licensing, there's not a cut and dry answer. There's an awful lot of it depends. And that's why people like me have a job, because I'm used to that and we know it and that's what we do. But you just have to do your homework, basically. I don't think they are currently popular songs. What was guys 4K in advance, and then royalties kick in after so it's a 4K in advance royalties. Again, it just comes down to what it is. And when you're looking at, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure where you are, if you're the publisher or which makes me think, because you said you're working with a developer, that has to go into your P&L. I owe this much to the developer for, the rights, and then I'm going to owe this much to, the song company. From a publishing standpoint, where you can easily get in trouble is if the developer's gone and made a bunch of ludicrous, contracts for all these games, all these songs, and they never, recoup, and their deal, the developer's deal with all these songs expires, then all of a sudden you have a game that you can't sell anymore because you don't have the access to, the music that went along with whatever, it was, whatever the, contract they did was. So from a publishing standpoint, you have to be super, super careful, which is why, a lot of publishers don't want to, look at games from developers where the developer's gone and said, we've already got the rights to this. It's like, okay, but what did you do? Publishers typically want to negotiate all that stuff on their own so they know exactly what's going on. You don't want to be in a situation where you've got a game, you got 24 songs in it, there's a spat between the developer and one of the songwriters that, did that deal before you even came into the picture. All of a sudden they lose the rights, and you've got a game that because of, one song, you can't sell anymore. That's where you've got to be careful with what they're promising. Now, in terms, if the developer has the money to pay out $4K for each song, then the royalties, most likely, and you want to double check this with the contract, is going to be a percentage of what the developer sees. So that's going to be after your percentage. So that's not really an issue. They owe the song, writer, song owner, a percentage of what you pay them as the publisher. But yeah, if somebody gets angry and there's a fallout between the developer and that company, then you're screwed. You can't sell your game anymore unless you find some way to magically take that out. And that is why in some movie soundtracks and some even game soundtracks, you'll have, say, an Elvis song, like Dwayne just said, but it's like some random nobody singing it because it's a different type of license that's acquired and it's cheaper. And so a lot of stuff, and that you look into songs that are in the public domain, that's another good way of that. So the advances goes towards the total percentage royalty or each side. Just make sure that you're not directly liable. If you didn't do the contract with that record label, that you're not being held liable. I mean, it's not completely on you. If the developer did that deal, it should be the developer's problem. You just have to make sure that you're not going to get, screwed on the back end if it goes sideways. That's why most publishers want to do their own licensing agreement, and the fact that they feel like they can always get a better deal, which is sometimes true, sometimes not. I hope that helps.
I hope that helps. Okay. All right. That was a lot of information. Let's do a show on that. I don't know anything about that subject, so I find it really interesting.
I mean, that's one of the things with my last company, what we did to stand out. We were making hidden object games, and we knew, being as we came into the hidden object genre well into its maturity, that there's no way we could release just a standard hidden object game without, having some kind of license on it, because it wasn't going to work. And so,
right.
We sat down and I said, okay, who plays hidden object games? Women 35 and older. It's the vast majority of the users. So what books do women 35 and older read? And so I created a list of about 20 different authors, and then I started cold calling and happened to get one that, I was mainly talking to agents, but the agent was a gamer, and she was like, oh yeah, this would be awesome. And she put me in touch and we did a deal, the game was extremely successful, but you've got to make sure that you've got people coming in that know what they're getting into. A lot of the work that we get on the licensing side basically comes down to being a mediator between the game company and the licensing company, because both of those don't really talk well to each other. And so you've got to manage expectations on both sides of the coin. But yeah, I mean, I literally gave a master class on this at Gamescom last year.
Wow.
Which may actually be online somewhere. I don't know, possibly.
We'll have to find that.
Yeah, but no, I do want to do a show on this. I want to wait till after E3 so we can get, I want to get somebody else in who can give you the perspective from the licensor part of the world. It may be in one of our playlists. It seems like I came across it at some point. But look first in the law and business playlist. That one.
Business.
It may be in there.
All right. Do we got anything else? I'm going to have to get out of here. We love answering these questions, though.
I do.
For sure.
If there's something that we didn't cover or you want to go into more detail, hit me up on Discord.
Yeah, hit us in the Discord. And that reminds me, I'm going to post a link to the Discord, to our new Discord server. Also, make sure, and you're following us, subscribe to us on YouTube. And let's see, there's also these Twitters. Hit us up on Twitter. So yeah, if you're watching this video, just go ahead and click that subscribe button. And anything else, sir?
I'm good.
All right. I'll be seeing you guys later. I'm going to jump into some Conan role playing here on my channel. Are you going to do anything, or you got work to do?
I probably have work to do. And
All right.
we'll see. I may.
It
depends honestly, it depends on where my child is right now and what time he's coming home, because he's at somebody else's house and I have no idea.
That's funny. Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and make sure and click that follow button. Peace out, everybody. See you.
Cheers.
Jay, I'll probably see you soon. Cheers. See you soon. Right? And you do some. What day? Wait. Before we go, what days are you going to do like the co-streaming thing with E3? Do you know when that's going to be, or?
I think they're running it all week.
Okay.
I mean, their Bethesda show is on Sunday. So, I mean, a lot of, I don't know when Devolver's is.
So you just might come in whenever that's happening, and then.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll set up. I believe that, if you don't want my old crotchety cynicism feedback on everything, there is a official E3 stream that's coming from.
It'll probably be on Twitch.
Yeah.
Well, what you should do is in the Discord post, oh, these streams are at this time. You're going to go live with them and then do your content. That would be awesome.
I don't know that I'll be like on camera, but I will be around talking
about it. Okay.
It's 4 p.m. Do you know where your child is? I know roughly where my child is.
He's somewhere in the neighborhood.
No. He's in a different neighborhood. It's not even like normal when he's running around our neighborhood. He's in a different neighborhood, but I know roughly where he is.
Well, he's somewhere. Finish that beer and it'll come to you.
Exactly.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
See you.